In this lesson, we're going to look at the final section of the programming project, the evaluation. It's important in this section that you demonstrate that the final product has been tested for functionality, robustness, and usability. Functionality is, does it work? Robustness is, are validations in place to stop the program breaking or crashing? And usability, can it be used by the end user? You need to evaluate to the extent which user requirements have been met, why, and if they haven't been met, why not. You should be using screenshot evidence showing that you are meeting the user end requirements and your design objectives. This should provide evidence to prove the functionality and robustness of your program. To show test evidence of the usability of the program, some end user testing will also be required. Test evidence from both needs to be evaluated in order to meet the criteria for this section of the project. Let's have a look at the function and robustness testing and evaluation. I suggest using a table with two columns. In the first column, place each of your design objectives, separated row by row. And in the second column, place the screenshot evidence to support you meeting that objective. Under each row, you might want to insert a new row, which you can write your evaluation about the degree that you have met that criteria. Let's have a look at an example. So here you can see the example. Our user requirement is 1.1. The program must enable key control of the main character, such as functionality. Here you can see the test evidence. We've got a screenshot of the keys, and you can see in this example how this has worked. My evaluation is underneath this in a new section. So you can see the evidence above shows that I've partially met this user end requirement. The character clearly moves in the correct directions when the appropriate keys are pressed. Look at the evaluation now. It must be noted that a diagonal movement was not achieved, and this is due to limitations with the GUI library. To get the top marks here, you must evaluate why that was not working. In this column, I've just stated the problem. The next section says if I were to conduct this project again, I may choose to use a library such as Pygame, which has more flexibility when it comes to key controlled animation. But why? Explain that. Even if it's been fully met, you still need a high quality detailed evaluation. Remember, for each user requirement, you must state if it's been fully, partially, or not met. You need to comment in your evaluation on how, particularly an unmet criteria, this could be addressed. This is where you're going to get top marks. Remember, we talk about the justification, and you need to be justifying this here. The usability testing section, you need to create a new heading, usability testing and evaluation. I recommend getting written responses from your end users. Try to get them to talk about how well that program actually meets their needs and their expectations and their requirements. And most importantly, how well they can use it. Do they recommend any further developments they would like on the program? This can then go directly into your project work. Once you've done that, you're going to have to discuss, evaluate, and justify the responses from your end user. This will help you to decide whether you have met the criteria and the requirements, and whether it is accepted as being a usable program. Remember to explain and justify your answers. The final section of the evaluation is the maintenance, limitations and desired improvements. And again, you'll need a new heading for this. You need to write about any issues that might arise from maintaining the program. Let's have a look at an example. For a quiz, will there be any issues adding new questions or updating this? How could that be done? Or for programs created, will there be any issues that might likely pop up from distribution to multiple users? You need to discuss how these issues could be improved if more time and resources was given, and how you'd go about that. Remember your justification. Now, also write about any limitations of your program. If there's a database and it's stored locally, multiple users won't be able to make use of the program. How might you go about solving that problem in the future? You might want to give examples or look for actual solutions on how this could be done. This will get you top marks. You then need to discuss how these issues could be improved if you had more time and resources. So for the example with a database, you could be talking about how you could be using a MySQL server which is hosted somewhere so that all users and multiple users could access this server. You might though then talk about limitations, so you might have to look at new security measures to ensure that this works. Have a look at some of the past projects to see the structure and the format that they have used. And finally, make sure to read the book. Have a look at what they comment on how to do this part of the project.